Zoning Hearing Board is once again in session. And I'll tell you a little about the board. We're a quasi-judicial board, and during this evening we will accept evidence and hear sworn testimony related to the issues. Any member of the community who wishes to speak will be heard at the end of any other evidence that we may be receiving. And if you do wish to speak or become a party to this matter, please fill out one of the cards that is on the podium right outside the door and hand it either to the stenographer or to our solicitor. If we conclude the matter this evening, after we've heard all the evidence, we will deliberate and come out and issue our opinion in an oral format, and then a written opinion will be issued. Our decisions are appealable to the Court of Common Pleas. As you may know, this hearing was begun on May 1st, and we started to hear testimony at that time from the city of Harrisburg. Then a motion was made by the township to dismiss once again the matter for a lack of standing by the city of Harrisburg. At that time, we asked both parties to brief the issue in an expedited time frame and asked them to provide us with briefs within 1 week, which they both did. And we have considered those briefs. And at this point, I would like to ask the parties if they would like to respond to the briefs that were made by the other party. And please limit your comments to responses that you haven't already presented to us in your brief. Mr. Sir, would you like to begin?
Yes, I would. Again, Charlie Sir from Stevens and Lee here on behalf of the City of Harrisburg. Before we actually begin that, I do have a request for the board. We have talked internally about the questions that were presented in the motion to dismiss, as well as the response of the brief, and we'd like to put on a little bit more testimony concerning that motion, if at all possible. We have the city solicitor will be en route here shortly from a city council meeting that started at 6 o'clock. I would expect him to be here within 10-15 minutes. We're watching the time right now. So I would request that before we do the argument that you just mentioned, if we could just pause for, say, 10-15 minutes, let him come in and offer a little bit of testimony, and we can have cross-examination on the issue. I would appreciate that if we could do that.
We're willing to do that. Do you think 15 minutes is sufficient?
Yeah, depending on traffic, 15 should. I'm looking at the 15 or 20. Let's say, maybe we say 7 o'clock. Be sure. If he's here earlier, we can start earlier.
Yes, in the interest of thoroughly addressing every issue in this matter, and as I mentioned before, this is the 4th time we are meeting, and we'll recess until 7 p.m. Please.
Madam Chair, could we have some ground rules up front, though? Because the solicitors coming here, if they're going to be developing more.
I'm sorry, Mr. Diamond, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm sorry. Could we have? Let me see if we have some ground rules on this first, though. I'd like it to be clear that we can ask questions, not simply limited to. There's not you're going beyond direct issue, because we've been stymied in developing these facts by the city. One of the things that's going on now, they refuse to respond in accordance with right to know law for the information relating to this. I'd like to be able to ask the solicitor.
So you're asking permission to ask questions beyond the direct
Beyond
exam.
the direct, because I think there are some very significant things. I think some of the things they didn't turn over to us or would not, we were able to find online. I think they're going to have some real explaining to do how they can take some of the positions now based on some of the things that we should be able to ask the about.
wish to address that, Mr. Sir?
I don't have concerns going beyond the direct. I mean, there may be some limitation. We'll have to see what he asks, but, you know, if there's questions beyond the direct, I think that's adequate. I mean, I'm not here to hide anything. So depending what it is, I mean, if it goes too far afield, I may object, but depending how it goes, I have no objection to going, you know, starting off going beyond what I'm offering.
Well, Mr. Diamond, we would permit it to go beyond direct exam with relevancy to the standing issue. And then if it needs to develop further than that, we'll address that matter.
Okay, then I'd like to reserve the right to call him back after, if the case is not, we believe it should be disposed on standing. If it is not, then I also would like him as on cross on the merits. I think that we could have some very critical.
I mean, if he wants to call, if he's going to call him as a witness, that's his prerogative. I mean, that's.
Yeah, except we've not gotten cooperation. You know, obviously, the school district won't show up. You know, what we'd ask for is that if it goes beyond standing.
Yes, you may.
That
You may call him.
ask the board to direct that he will be here.
Yes, and perhaps we'll get everything ironed out tonight. Mr. Sir, will the solicitor agree to stay after the standing issue is resolved? If we need him to.
I could check with that. I think so. I mean, right?
I know the answer to that, but
I'm not. He should. I don't know what his schedule is this evening, but I would think he would be able to.
The board will recess then until 7 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your patience. The board is back in session. Mr. Sir.
Right. Thank you for accommodating us. We'd like to have a witness come in, Mr. Grover.
And thank you to all the members of the community for your patience.
What? No, you're going to stand next to me here. Sorry.
someone's over the chair.
No, just stand next to me here.
So you're messing with me?
You've got to talk. The mic is an issue here. She needs to be sworn in.
Sure. I do.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Neil A. Grover.
And what is your current employment?
I am the city solicitor for the city of Harrisburg
And how long have you been the city solicitor?
since January 2014.
And you currently are, as of today, the city solicitor, correct?
Yes,
And are you familiar with the option agreement that was produced at the last hearing?
I am.
I'm going to show you what I've marked as exhibit number 16. Make sure that's the original in the back.
Is this the original? There's the original, the seal on it in the back. The resolution. No.
Okay, you see what I've marked as exhibit number 16?
I do.
And can you identify what this is?
Mr. Sir, if I may interrupt, so everyone can hear, would it be convenient for you to take a seat there and use that microphone? Would that make it
That'd be fine by me.
easier?
I have a low voice, so I apologize.
Yeah, bring the mic down to you. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
All right, I'll ask you again, Neil, if you see what I've identified as exhibit number 16,
I have.
and can you identify what this is?
This is Resolution 35 of 2019 of the City of Harrisburg that was introduced and voted upon tonight by the Harrisburg City Council.
And when would City of Harrisburg Council meet? Was that,
They met at their regularly advertised meetings at 5:30 at their caucus and at 6 o'clock for a legislative session. They meet every Tuesday and every other 2 days a legislative session, which was tonight.
okay. And what's the, just describe what's in the resolution.
This resolution directly comes out of the proceedings here 2 weeks ago. Option agreements that don't involve money normally don't get approved by City Council. In order to address the objection that we understood was made on the 7th, I've drafted an agreement that goes through the history of what we're trying to do for a composting facility, about the option agreement, and that City Council's in support of it. They understand that if
I would object to what City Council understands. You can testify to facts.
All right, just testify what you know.
Sure, this document
Sustained.
explains that the City of Harrisburg has a process it must go through for a composting facility.
Object to that also.
It's in the
It speaks for
document.
itself, it's a document.
So this document here, does it ratify, from City Council point of view, the option agreement?
Again, that calls for a legal opinion. He cannot be the arbiter of whether he messed up or the city messed up in the past on a legal issue. He can testify to facts.
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you.
I'll sustain the objection.
Thank you.
Okay. We have the resolution here. I would have no further questions.
Mr. Diamond, do you have questions for
Yeah,
the
I don't
witness?
Questions and maybe some exhibits.
And please use your microphone too, if you would.
Okay. Prior to tonight, we know council had not approved this agreement, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Do you know what an intergovernmental cooperation agreement is?
I am intimately familiar with them. We use them all the time. If you read the literature on it, they're anything from a handshake to a formal financing to a joint airport authority. There are many
Do you
forms.
know what a valid
I
intergovernmental
do.
cooperative
I've been involved
agreement-
in many of them, and a valid is a legal
Well, let me
conclusion.
ask you this as a fact. Has the city in the past ever tried to approve an intergovernmental cooperative agreement with less than an ordinance?
Yes, many times.
And has it done so specifically in connection with the proposed joint educational composting facility with the school district?
There were various versions in the history of this as discussions went on. At one point, there was a draft document that was entitled an Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement. At other points, there were draft documents called MOUs, which is not an unusual process between government entities getting to...
I don't want to know your
what you're
legal
trying to do.
opinion, I'm asking you the facts.
I'm telling you the historical facts of how it
Yeah, well,
works.
it's
That's how it works.
your legal opinion.
Please, don't argue.
You're not the judge here. I mean, I feel I know at least as much as you do about intergovernmental cooperative agreements. So.
Are you the witness then?
No, what I'm saying is, the law is
Mr. Diamond,
not up
please,
to us.
try to be less argumentative. He can speak as to the facts and the types of agreements that they may have.
We have marked as Township Exhibit Number 2. Hand of the witness. Marked as Township Exhibit Number 2. Something that purports to be City Council Resolution 64, 2016, which is a resolution put into the adopted intergovernmental cooperative arrangement. Marked as Exhibit Number 2. Are you familiar with this document?
And, Mr. Grover, I'm having a little hard time hearing you. If you could speak up just a little bit longer or more.
Do you have the copy?
Is that better? Thank you.
Jim, do you have the copy?
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I'm familiar with, not the cover page, but the document itself, which is Resolution 64, 2016. And
Did you draft that?
I can't recall if it was me or someone else in my office, but my office
Your
drafted
office
it.
would have been responsible for approving the form of that and that it was the right way to do it?
It's a way to do it.
I'm asking you, who would be responsible? You?
My office, my staff, the lawyers in my office, that is a way. We do it varies. There's not
I
a
know
way to do
you
it.
do it various ways. So what I'm asking you is, was it done?
Mr. Diamond, give him an opportunity to answer, please.
So the question was, who was responsible?
Myself or another lawyer in my law bureau
Okay.
in 2016 drafted the resolution.
And after it's signed, you approve, you check the signatures?
Not normally, because city council does those. It's already approved.
And then this page on the back, when is that done relative to when city council deals with the resolution?
The page on the back that is memo is the transmittal memo to the city council on any piece of legislation. And that would be my signature on there, so I would have sent it down.
And did you meet with the school board at all over this option agreement?
I have been, not just myself, but I have been to various meetings at the school board publicly and at least one conference over 3 years probably now.
And did you draft the option agreement?
I don't believe, the option agreement in front of you now, I did not.
Do you know who did?
It was, I don't. There's multiple lawyers who were involved.
Do you know which party, the school district or the city?
Both participated.
And in that option agreement, did it not on its face envision that as the point is getting effective, it would have in the rearview mirror dates that there had been approvals by the governing bodies at a regular meeting?
So that was, in the face of the document, there's an approval to notate that the school district requested to be in there, yes.
And didn't it also have one for the option A?
Yes. No, I'm saying they requested both of those
Yes,
lines.
and it was blank, right? Until, in fact, I guess it's still blank tonight in what you just handed to them.
It is still blank tonight.
So as of April 8, 2019, when this application was filed, that hadn't happened, correct?
The line was not filled in? No.
Yes, and the regular meeting of council had not yet happened, correct?
Nor was it required.
That's your legal opinion.
That is the legal opinion of the city of Harrisburg, because I am their chief legal officer.
I understand that. That doesn't necessarily carry the day before this board or before the courts are going to rule in this case. But we can agree there was no such meeting at the time, prior to the time this application was filed, that approved that option agreement by city council.
There was not a meeting approving that option agreement. As you can see from what you've handed me as 64, 2016, the issue has been public issue for the public officials of the city of Harrisburg and public hearings for the same exact site for a composting facility that has various
And you're
discussions.
aware that there already was, there's a binding determination that there was no standing for the purposes of this proceeding prior to November 13, 2018, correct?
Based on the prior application,
Yes.
yes.
And are you aware that in these proceedings, your client, the city, has indicated, has disavowed that prior 2016 concept completely with the food waste, et cetera, that you're mentioning has been talked about for?
It has been disavowed by everybody. I mean, it was explored further, and it was, as many government projects do, it starts with one idea, people come to the table, have public discussions on them, and it changes and evolves to what it can be. So that occurred.
So does your office ever require, and let me ask you that, and to pass an ordinance for your third-class city, does it have to be advertised?
The only ordinances that are advertised is the financial ones. Under the optional third-class city code, Mayor Council Plan A which is different and it supersedes the portions of the optional third-class city code in which we operate as. It's one of the fundamental things that has been there
I
for
don't
quite
need
a
that, I
long
just want
time.
to know if you have to advertise. So then the mechanism.
Mr. Diamond, let him complete his answer, please.
Okay, well, I think it's a yes or no question. Do they have to advertise or not? I think
That
you
wasn't
said
your
no.
question.
Or not.
What was your
Just-
question again, please?
Okay, well, what I want to ask now is, so is there then instead a mechanism where for there to be a duly adopted ordinance, it has to be read 3 times before it's passed?
So first of all, this is not an ordinance.
Now, I realize that. What I'm asking you is, if you did do the ordinance, would you have had to read it 3 times?
So the way that it actually operates is that they tried, and when they modified the state law, I'm answering it the way I'm answering it, and frankly, I don't care if you don't like it. So the ordinances for the first reading are required to be done in a publicly advertised meeting under the Sunshine Act and the third-class city code. That ordinance goes onto an agenda. The title of that ordinance is read into the record by the city clerk at the request of the presiding officer. It is then assigned to a committee. And then it can, under the law, then be approved at one more legislative session after that, where both the second reading, which is for amendment if there are any, and then third and final reading occur. So the law used to be where there was a process where it was actually 3 separate public events. The law tightened up for operational purposes all over for that.
There's now 2.
So it's 2 nights at the minimum, and then if there are amendments, it can be sent back out, and it can go on for 2 years, depending on what the ordinance is.
This resolution thing did not go through 2 nights, correct?
No,
City
but
council.
no, it did not go to 2-night city council. Some do, some don't.
Now, were you aware of our office having a right-to-know request to the city?
I am aware there is one, that it goes back for some of it 20 years.
Are you aware of the failure of the city to respond timely to that? And it's asking for information about this very,
I am not aware of the city failing to respond timely. I'm aware of an extension request having been made.
you know when it was made?
I do not know. I don't know the dates of these, so I can tell you how right to know works if you'd like.
Let me show you this. Make this exhibit number 3.
I mean, as an objection here, I thought we were going to deal with standing first, the right to know. Maybe
No,
we'll do that
these are
first.
standing-related requests. I want to make it clear for the record that they've been blocking our ability to get behind. I mean, the fact that, I mean, if you couldn't underscore how they knew they had no standing if they had to run and have a meeting tonight to do so. Nothing could retroactively fix it tonight.
Are we
That's how
having, I'm sorry,
desperate-
are we having
Just-
argument now, or I made an objection as to
Just a
the
moment,
questioning?
please.
All right. I'll withdraw that question. I'll hold this until later if,
Thank you,
because if
thank you. Do you have anything further, Mr. Diamond,
let me
at
take a
this
look here.
time?
yeah, because I think that this is an alternative issue on the standing.
Related to standing?
Yes. And this is, I want to ask you about, I don't know if you, Mr. Grover, have seen the exhibits that the city has in its packet for this proceeding. But I'm assuming you may have heard about that. This is, it's not yet admitted, but it's a deed for the property we're talking about.
The deed from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to the Harrisburg School
That's
District.
correct.
I can't tell you that I have it memorized, but I am familiar with it.
And are you aware of the reverter, the instantaneous reverter provision in that?
This is not
I disagree with your assertion of it.
Pardon me, Mr. Diamond, I don't see how that's relevant to the standing issue.
Well,
I understand
Yeah.
that there's a provision in the deed of reverter.
Well, okay. Well, our view is it has to be an intergovernmental cooperative agreement where the school district is delegating some of its core school functions, or it's a non-school purpose, in which case they wouldn't have the authority by the deed to give standing to the city. So that's,
Just a moment. Mr. Diamond, we've determined that does not relate to standing at this time. Perhaps you can ask the question later.
I'll withdraw the question then. I do not have any further questions.
Thank you.
No further redirect.
Thank you. Oh, sir, just a moment. Do the board members have any questions? No, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, will you be available to stay? We're going to determine the issue of standing, and the township had requested that you be available to be called as a witness on other matters that might come up after we've determined the standing issue, if we determine there is standing.
I will be available at leisure.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sir, was there anything in the township's brief to us that you did not address in your own brief or to which you would like to respond on the issue of standing?
I believe we addressed the issue of the primary one, which had to do with the validity of the agreement requiring council approval. I think that was adequately addressed by both sides. That was on there. There's a whole section here on the intergovernmental cooperation agreement, which I wasn't aware was going to be an issue. That wasn't brought up this time, and it was brought up beforehand. I think the testimony came in. There's a whole variety of types of intergovernmental cooperation agreements. We don't believe that it's necessary at this time. It may be necessary upon the exercise of the after the option is exercised and the lease is entered into, or a license is entered into. That may require internet cooperation agreement. I don't know that at this time right now, but it's our position that it does not require it at this time for the validity of the agreement. So that's the only thing I would add. And then, of course, we have the Resolution 35-2019, which just came in tonight, to support, even if there was a requirement, which we don't believe they are, that resolution retroactively is adopting and ratifying what is, what was set forth in the option agreement. So that, of course, was not in my brief because that action had not occurred yet. So other than that, no, everything is contained within my memorandum.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Diamond, would you like to respond
Let
to
me first
the
address
cities?
retroactivity, because I think that is critical. They can't retroactively make standing back on April 8th. And if this honorable board recalls, if you look at their amendment, they were clearly trying to race in, I think they knew it didn't have standing, to beat an ordinance, in their opinion, that became effective days after. Just like last time, either they have standing at the time of the application or they don't. They can't magically go back in time and create standing. But let's also look at this interesting argument now. I think I've been pretty darn clear harping on the Intergovernmental Cooperative Agreement requirements from the last time and last hearing as well. I don't think they should have been at all surprised by that. But they seem to be trying to say, hey, look, we don't feel like we're really all that locked in. It's an option. We can do it later. Not from the school district side. For them, their perspective, if they're going to be delegating out that joint cooperative educational, they cannot be bound as a matter of law until the last party to that, their governing board, has appropriately adopted the ordinance. So the school, either they're right, oh yeah, this really isn't anything yet, and the school district's not locked in and they have no standing, And we're even brushing aside how light their standing claim is. Even if there was no question, I think it's clear they don't have a binding agreement as of April 8, and maybe they're fixing it today, but they have to come back and refile again. And the school board certainly could have been a party itself. Everybody chose not to do it that way. But we're now talking about what effective date there is. But this is, and even when they say, well, there's no obligations or anything, somebody had to pay, according to this, a fee, an option fee. Somebody, they're spending a lot of money here. There's an indemnity provision in there. And they may say, oh, well, we don't think it would ever trigger. I mean, there are obligations in there. And when you read the case law, it doesn't say that what the case law really says is it's a legislative function. Now, they say, oh, we passed an ordinance years ago that said we can do contract administration. That's not approving a contract. That's an executory function. That's what, it's essentially the Reed case, the same city. But set all that aside, the intergovernmental cooperative agreement cannot be in effect yet, or if it might be tonight, maybe, I would say it couldn't be because it's not an ordinance, but the city was not, the school
So,
district.
Mr. Diamond, if I may interrupt, I believe you made all of those arguments in your brief, so we do have that. But is there anything that the city brought up to which you have not responded and would like to at this time?
No, I don't believe.
Okay. All right, just a moment. All right, gentlemen, we are going to recess and make a determination as to whether or not there is standing. And for those of you in the community, what that means is if we find that there is standing, that is that the city is able to come before the board, then we will continue to hear their case in chief and then proceed. If we find that there is not standing, then the matter will be dismissed. And thank you for your patience and your interest. It's remarkable to see this much interest in the community, and it's noted and appreciated. So we are going to deliberate and be back as quickly as we can. Thank you. Board is back in session. And the board has finished deliberating. Do I have a motion?
I move to deny the township's motion to dismiss.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Ms. Kerr, how do you vote?
I vote in support of the motion to dismiss.
I vote in favor of the motion.
I also vote in favor of the motion. So the motion to dismiss is denied. Mr. Sir, you may proceed with your case in chief.
Great, thank you.
Sorry about your name.
Why don't you stand, well, you can stand right there, I guess.
Mr. Sir, does that work for you, or would you
Yeah,
like
this
your
is
witness to?
fine. I like-
Just make sure you speak into the microphone so everyone can hear, and it's being recorded also.
I'm going to start off again. When we did this last time, we had the similar testimony from Mr. Pacheco here. We're going to do the same process that we did beforehand. He's going to offer some testimony. We're going to take a break to have some documents authenticated again, and he will come back again, the same thing we did last time. I'd just like to announce that.
You may proceed,
going further.
and he should be sworn in.
Yes.
If you were sworn in last time, usually you would be sworn in each time.
Different hearing.
Different hearing. Do you swear affirm the testimony you give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Okay, you need to talk loudly into the microphone. Okay. Could you state your name, please?
Jose Pacheco,
And what is your address?
2885 Runston Drive, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 17104.
And are you currently employed?
Yes, I am.
And where are you employed?
I'm employed by the city of Harrisburg,
And what do you do at the city of Harrisburg?
demolition specialist.
And what's sort of your responsibilities with your job with the city of Harrisburg?
We basically demo the houses that now they've been decrepit for years, so we tear them down.
And when did you start working with the city of Harrisburg?
14 years ago,
And that would be around 2006?
2006 it was.
And where did you work before then?
I worked for the school board, school district,
Which school district?
the Harrisburg School District.
And what did you do there?
I work on the buildings and grounds.
When did you start working for the Harrisburg School District?
I believe it was in 92, I'm not positively sure.
1992 or thereaughts?
92.
Okay. And when did you stop working for the Harrisburg School District?
In 06.
Right. Is that when you went to go work for the city of Harrisburg?
Yes, sir.
All right. And what did you, describe a little bit what you did in your job with the Harrisburg School District?
With the Harrisburg School District, we kept the grounds cut. When leaves fell, we removed the leaves off of premises. And when teachers had to move, we had to move teachers. When snow, we had to remove snow.
Now, are you familiar with the property located at 1901 Wayne Avenue?
Yes, I am.
When were you last at the property, or last able to see the property?
This winter,
This winter, like earlier 2018
this winter of 19,
of 19?
of 18, 19.
Okay. And when you were there, did you get a good look at the property?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall about what time of day it was?
We go there all kind of time. We can be there at 3 o'clock in the morning. We can be there at 3 o'clock in the evening due to the snow.
Okay. And when you would go and look at it, the last time you were there, about how long were you there at the property, if you recall?
I was there for about half an hour.
Okay. Well, let's describe kind of the current conditions when you saw the property. What did you see when you were looking at the property?
The property is basically still the same way it was from when I worked there.
And what would that consist of?
They still have the old trailer where we used to eat our lunch at. They still have the place there they call the barn.
Anything else on there?
The same places that we used to dump our leaves and everything on, and our tree limbs and stuff. Still being dumped there.
Did you see like leaf piles or brush piles there?
Yes, I did.
Now, let's talk about when you worked with the school district in the 90s up to 2006. About how often did you go there?
Well, we went there every summer due to the grass cutting or the leaf removal. We would go there.
So that would go summer and fall primarily?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And describe what you did with the leaves or the brush that you would get.
Once we picked up all our leaves and we got our trucks full, we would go out to the old middle school and dump them there.
And you say the old middle school, that's that 1901 Wave Avenue?
Yes, sir.
Did you do anything beyond dumping the leaves and the brush there?
I used to use the backhoe there to push the leaves further, tightening them up further so we could keep dumping.
Other than the backhoe, did you use any other equipment on the leaf or brush pile?
No, sir.
And when you were working with the school district, did you deposit anything else other than grass and leaves or that type of organic material?
No, sir.
No trash, garbage or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay, now I'm actually take a break to authenticate some photographs.
Okay.
Sit down. You swearing? Just nice and sister.
Right hand, please. Swear affirm the testimony you give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Robert Hasemeyer.
And where are you currently employed?
I'm employed with Barton and LaJudas Engineers, Campbell, Pennsylvania.
And what is their address?
3901 Hartsdale Drive, Camp Hill.
And what do you do there?
I'm a municipal and environmental engineer
And how long have you worked there?
since April of 2007.
Can you describe in general the type of projects that you work on at your employment?
Municipal and environmental infrastructure, doing the design, permitting, and if there's construction following through to even if there's some kind of certification document. And those projects can involve general utilities like water and sewer, but most of my career has been focused on municipal solid waste projects.
Prior to 2007, when you started at Barton, where did you work?
I worked at Gannon Fleming Engineers from August of 1987 till 2007 when I changed to Barton on Judas.
And was that in their Camp Hill office?
Yes.
Okay. In your employment, do you work with both municipal and private clients, or just one or the other?
With both, almost evenly divided.
You had mentioned solid waste projects you work on. Can you describe just, some of those in a little bit more detail, what that may encompass?
Variety of projects, landfill, waste energy, composting, recycling, and material reuse, or sometimes referred to as beneficial use.
Okay. I'm showing you what I've marked as exhibit number 3. Can you identify what this is?
This is my, it's a brief resume, a description of my skill sets as well as a history of my employment and education and professional licenses.
And are you a professional engineer in Pennsylvania?
I am.
And then as well as the other states that are listed there?
Yes, there are several states for which I'm currently licensed and registered.
And you still currently a PE in Pennsylvania?
Yes,
And you were qualified as an expert engineer at this board in December 2018, is that right?
that's correct.
Let the use him as an expert engineer going forward.
Questions?
Robert, are you familiar with the application that was filed for this hearing?
I am.
Are you familiar with the property in the, subject to the application as well as the surrounding area?
Yes,
Are you familiar with the relevant provisions of the Susquehanna Township zoning ordinance as it relates to this application?
I am.
Are you familiar with the needs of the city of Harrisburg as it relates to composting?
Yes,
And are you familiar with the composting permit requirements with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection?
yes,
And have you been authorized to speak on behalf of the city of Harrisburg in relation to this application?
yes, I am.
All right, let's go real quickly here. Let's show you what I've marked as exhibit number 4. Can you identify what this is?
This is the deed in which the property was conveyed from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to the Harrisburg School District.
So this is the current deed for the property, subject to the application?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's look at a couple of photos that we've marked, starting with 5. We're going to go through 5, 6, and 7. So I'm showing what I've marked as exhibit number 5. And can you identify what this is?
This is an aerial image taken from Google Earth Pro, dated March 15th, 2006.
Should we stop?
We wanted to ask if you could put that up on the screen. Is that possible?
I don't have that
Oh,
ability.
Excuse me.
let's
it
off
over
the
there
record
on the
for a
top?
moment. What, Luann?
Is it up there on the wall? Is that their stuff?
Are
I
those
just
are
don't know if this is set up to show these or not, because the
We can always show
projection.
the two documents that were submitted with the application, so we can put that up, but we don't have any like additional photos.
the things on the wall are not yours.
No, sorry. You okay?
Do you want me to turn it on, so you can see that it's the site?
Yes, please. Thank you, Betsy.
Yes, sir. You start going first.
Does it need to warm up?
Yeah, it'll just take a second.
Back on the record then.
Okay, we'll just start on, because that's something different. Okay, exhibit number 5, identify the photograph. Was this prepared either by you or under your supervision?
Under my direction, there was an individual working for me that I made that assignment.
All right, and what property is shown in this photograph?
There's a slight truncation to the east, but it demonstrates the entire 42 acres that were conveyed to the Harrisburg School District from around the center of the exhibit towards the right, and the area to the left illustrates additional property to what it looks like a construction activity that takes place on the current lands of the Capital Region Water Authority.
And when was this picture taken?
The date on the image, at least identified from Google, is March 15th, 2006.
Now, Jose had mentioned some leaf piles. Is that represented on this photograph?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We're going to object to the, no foundation that he's viewed it from the air or anything. Whether you can see, I mean, there are brown marks there, whether he can testify firsthand what was there in 2006 and whether they're leaf piles or what they are.
I'm going to overrule the objection if you can identify it.
There's an area just north of the paved area where not in this photograph, but in other. So the exhibit on the wall is ZHB-1, and there's a paved area at the western boundary and identified as the bus storage area. And directly to the north of that, there are several brown piles that are presumed to be organics. But there is definitely a berm that you can tell is vegetative debris.
That's fine. Let's go to the next exhibit, what I've marked as exhibit number 6. Just so clear, these are the same exhibits that we testified with last time before the board, is that correct?
Yes, they are.
And there have been no changes to them?
No.
All right. So can you identify what this exhibit 6 is?
It's another aerial image from a different date. The date on this image is February 26, 2004.
And again, this is prepared either by you or underneath your direction?
Under my direction by the same individual who was preparing all of these aerial images.
It appears to be showing the same general area, is that correct?
Yes.
And do you have any view of any possible leaf piles on here?
Yes.
Same objection, obviously, to all these.
Overruled.
It does look like there's some leaf windrows on the eastern boundary of the area identified in on the previous exhibit.
Let's go to what I've marked as exhibit number 8. And could you identify what this is?
This again is another aerial image with the date being April 5th, 2003.
Was this also prepared either by you or underneath your direction?
Under my direction.
All right. And we're going to have the same question concerning the leaf piles. Are they shown on here or no?
There are some piles at the western edge, and it does look like on the eastern side of the particular property that is being utilized by the Harrisburg School District that there are some windrows of leaves. and other vegetative material.
Thank you. Let's just get Jose back then. Then you'll be back up. Okay, you're back on the record, Jose. We're going to go through the exhibits that Robert just testified about, okay?
Yes, sir.
So I'm showing you what I've marked as exhibit number 5. And as testified, this is a photograph taken of a Google Earth dated March 15, 2006. And when you look at this, does this appear familiar to you?
Yes, it
Object,
does.
there's no foundation. He's seen it from the air.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Now, when you look at the...
Could we get some foundation on that?
You would like foundation on
Yeah,
his?
it sounds like he's saying it looks familiar to him as what it looked like at the time. And I'd like to know if he saw it from the air in 2006 on that date, or around that date.
Like in an airplane?
Yeah. I mean, if there's a picture of the ground, he can say, you know.
Mr. Diamond, would you mind waiting and you can cross-examine him as to that?
Okay, can I do the cross-examination of him then before they interrupt again with going back and forth?
He'll be done.
Okay.
Yes, that would be agreeable.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
When you viewed the property, did you view the property from up in the air?
No, I didn't.
You weren't in a helicopter, an airplane, or anything?
No, I wasn't.
What was your point of view when you were viewing the property?
I was just standing on the ground in premises.
Now, this is obviously an aerial photograph of the property in the surrounding area, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, looking at this photograph and then remembering what you actually saw standing on the ground, does this appear to be familiar to what you would have seen back in 2006?
Yeah, I'm going to object.
Yes,
All I
sir.
can tell that it looks the same from the air as on the ground.
Overruled. You may proceed to answer.
Now, you had testified previously that when you worked for the school district, actually this, in March 15th, 2006, do you believe, were you working with the school district then? Or did you transition out, you believe?
No, I wasn't working with the school district at that time.
Okay. During 2016 in March, when you were viewing it from the street, looking at it, again, recognizing this is an aerial photograph, does this photograph represent what you would have seen, or similar conditions to what you would have seen when you were there?
Yes, it does.
And you would testify about leaf piles and putting leaf piles and brush piles on the ground. Are those piles shown on this photograph?
Yeah, I'm going to object.
Yes,
How
there
you can
is.
tell from that aerial that it's the same. We'll put on evidence why we're asking this.
Overruled.
Thank you.
You may answer.
I think I asked you, what's the question I asked?
And you had testified about leaf piles, including leaf piles and brush piles on the ground. Are those piles shown on this photograph?
That's my question.
Yes, they are.
And can you identify where in the photograph that might be? In relation to the parking lot or?
In relation to parking lot, we have a road that goes through here. The trailer that where we used to eat lunch is right there. It's right behind it, leaf pile.
When you see the trailer, there appears to be a small
It's a
white rectangular.
small white trailer that I can remember well, but right there, right behind it.
It was behind the trailer then?
Yes, it was.
So let's look to the next photograph, which is marked as exhibit number 6. Again, the same question. Giving the property back in February 2004, recognize that this is an aerial photograph, and you were standing on the ground looking at it. Does this represent what the property would have looked like at that time period?
Yes, it does.
All right, and can you locate, are the brush and leaf piles that you testified about shown on here?
Yes, they are.
And where might that be?
They right behind the bus parking lot. They right behind it.
In relation to the trailer you talked about too?
Yes, sir. You're right behind the same trailer we used to eat lunch at.
So they're behind the trailer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's go to, I've marked as exhibit number 8, the same questions. This photograph testified Representative Grounds in April 2003. Again, it's an aerial photograph, and if you're reviewing the property not from above but on the ground, does this look familiar with what the property would look like in April 2003?
Yes, sir.
And are the composting leaf piles, sorry, take that, the leaf and brush piles, are they shown on this photograph?
Yes, sir.
And where might that be?
Right on the back side of the trailer.
And the trailer is that sort of a white rectangular area,
Yes, sir.
and that's to above it, in other words, higher in the photo.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. No further questions. You're going to stay here and he's going to ask you questions. Slide. That's good.
Mr. Diamond, you may cross.
And you remember you testified here under oath previously, and the court reporter took down all of your testimony, right?
Yes, sir.
So, you mentioned you were at the property sometime in the winter, 1819.
Yes,
Were you
sir.
taken there by the city?
I drive a truck for the city, and we have to go get salt.
I have to ask both of you to please get closer to your microphones. Thank you.
I drive a salt truck for the city of Harrisburg, and our salt pile is there.
Okay. Did you go over also in connection with this, getting ready for this case?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you did? Okay. So, when you were taking the leaves over, that was during what period of time for the school district?
In the summer and in the fall.
Summer and fall. And did you say you were taking grass over there also?
Yes,
How often did you do that?
as often as we call it.
Now, did you ever, and you remember you were here before, but did you ever see any process going on where anyone was structuring leaf piles in a way that they would be watered and turned and any of those kinds of things?
No, sir.
Did you ever go for weeks at a time without taking any leaves over there?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever see any grinding, did you ever see any production of mulch that was taken away from there as a finished product?
No, sir.
Were there any hydrants there or water trucks or hoses that you or other employees of the school district were instructed to water the leaves or other materials in order to start some kind of composting process?
No, sir.
Were you required to keep logs, that is records, of what was being taken to that site? What kind of leaves, how many yards, cubic yards, things like that?
No, sir.
Did anyone, who was your boss?
My supervisor was Tim Curtis.
Okay. did he instruct you about any kind of requirements by law of what had to be done if there was composting?
No, sir.
Were you ever made aware of anything called a preparedness plan relating to any composting facility?
No, sir.
Did you ever wear an OSHA dust mask or respirators or anything like that when dealing with the leaves and brush at that facility?
No.
Were you aware of any specialized composting machinery like a turner? Remember we showed you a picture at the last proceeding?
No, sir.
Oh, bear with me a second, I'll try to find that picture. We'll marked by the ex township exhibit. This should look familiar to you just from the last hearing. We're at number 5 or 3, I'm sorry. So this is township exhibit number 3. Sample picture of the turner machine. Just take a look at this again, and I know this is repetitive, but it's officially a different case. And isn't it true, you had never seen any equipment like that in use over there?
No, sir.
And now, you've seen, stop. You heard the term earlier in the testimony, the word windrow. Had you heard that word when you worked at the school district?
No, sir.
Had you heard anyone, during the time you worked for the school district, was there ever a school on that site?
Yes.
Okay, when did that cease to exist there?
It's hard for me to remember. I helped remove that stuff from there.
You did, okay.
Yes, sir. I helped remove when they tore the school down, I helped remove stuff from there.
Now, after that, were you aware when you had dropped leaves off there, and this is behind the house, correct? You can't see it from the street.
No, you can't see it from the street, sir.
Okay. So, whenever you were back there, any times you were there, did you ever see any educational classes going on around the leaf pile where the school district had students or individuals there that were teaching about the leaf pile?
No, sir.
Did you have any interaction with any of the township authorities, the Susquehanna Township authorities, about that related to the school district going behind the buildings and dropping off leaves or grass or other?
No, sir.
When you worked there, were you told anything about fungus or airborne pathogen risks, anything like that? in your job?
No, sir.
Were you ever instructed with respect to those the leaves you dropped off or whatever you left behind, about looking at or checking the ratio between carbon and nitrogen, or doing other managed processes for composting?
No, sir.
did you ever have to use a temperature probe to check the temperature of the leaf piles to make sure they were within certain parameters, certain high and low?
No, sir.
That you did not have any periodic, you didn't have a schedule that you were supposed to come in and turn over the leaf piles, right?
No, sir.
Were you ever told that the leaves could not be pushed, they couldn't compact?
No, I was never told that.
Were the grass clippings put together with the leaves?
Yes, sir.
Was there any concern about how much grass clippings versus how many leaves, what the ratio was or the percentage between the two? By the school district?
No.
Were you aware of the school district gathering leaves, trees, et cetera, from the general public as opposed to school district properties to bring to the property?
I was never told to do no such thing.
Now, you were not involved in taking leaves there in, say, 2009, correct? After you were no longer working for the school district?
2009, no.
Or probably any time after that, correct?
Correct.
Other than going over there to deal with the salt, something like that, on the other, there's a fence between the salt area and where you would drop off leaves occasionally, correct?
There's a gate there.
Okay, but there's something in between there, salt area?
The salt area is fenced in.
Okay. Were you, from, let's say in 2011, are you sure or did you pay close attention to how many leaf piles or things like that were there?
No.
Did you have any reason to do so?
No.
So between 2006 and when this case came up or came to your attention, had you given a lot of thought to how many leaves were there, how they were getting there, what was happening?
No.
So is it fair to say that at least after 2006, you don't have a lot of firsthand knowledge about exactly what was going on, how it was being handled, where leaves were coming from?
No, sir. No, sir.
So, and now you currently work for the city. Does the city take leaves there? If you know. Do you know if the city is taking leaves there now?
The city does not take leaves there.
How did you come to find out about this case?
Since I work for a school district there, I was asked about it.
By whom were you asked?
By Mr. Johnson,
And who's Mr. Johnson?
one of my supervisors.
And does he have any connection to this, to the proposed composting facility? If you know.
I do not know.
Now, are you aware of any reason that as of 2019, the school district would have a need to dramatically increase how many leaves it was putting on the property?
Sustained.
Okay. I do want to rule out what he doesn't know as well, so. Because he hasn't been with the school district since 2006, and he testified about things after that.
So you want to ask him since
No,
he left?
I think
Oh,
he's
oh.
already said, well, yeah, maybe I should. So, do you have any reason to know that the school district now has some need to dramatically increase the size of where it's dropping leaves?
No, sir.
Second, I may not have any further questions. Let me just. How, I'm going to go back in time to when you were with the school district and you would go over there now and then. How many other employees were with you when you would typically go over there?
4 to 6 people,
Were you in the same truck?
sometimes.
And where did you get the leaves from? School district properties?
The schools.
And you never took food waste or anything?
No, sir.
No further questions?
Thank you.
I have no further questions.
We may have, the board members have some questions. I have a few questions for you. If you look at exhibit, just a moment here. On exhibit 8, I believe it was.
We didn't get to 8 yet.
Oh, we didn't get to 8. Oh, pardon me. So if we're looking at exhibit 7, we've heard the word windrow used, and I am presuming that that means the piles of leaves that are in rows there. And I was wondering if you know how, or whatever that debris is there, do you know how it was formed into those rows?
No, I don't.
And also looking at number 7, if you look to you see the rows on the right above the trailer. If you look to the left of those, it looks like there are piles there. There's something there. Can you determine what that is?
No, ma'am.
And we heard you testify that you did not continue to dump leaves there after a certain point, or other grass and woody clippings. Did you see those same things being dumped there by other people?
No, ma'am.
If you'd indulge me, let me just ask one question.
You may.
Something that was testified to last time, I just want to. Am I correctly remembering that you said when you left the leaves there, that was the end of it? You weren't coming back for them, they just rot there in place? There was no process to come get the leaves and take them somewhere else or do something else with them, like after they were dropped on this big 40-some acre piece of property?
Correct.
No further questions?
Just one question. You had indicated that you hadn't seen anybody else dump grass clippings or leaves. Were other things dumped at this site by other people that you don't know? I mean, were there other things dumped here?
It was possible. That's open at night to people, so I really couldn't tell you.
Did you see things there at the site that appeared to have been dumped?
Yes, sir.
What kind of stuff?
It seems like there's some wood and stuff there.
And can you show us where on the photo, we were looking at Exhibit 7, where on Exhibit 7 is that sort of stuff located?
From where the leaf pile that you see, the leaf rows, over to the west of it, right there, usually there was something there, yes.
So just sort of north of, above the parking lot that's there?
To the west side of that, towards the west.
Of the parking lot, he's asking.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you.
At this time, Mr. Pacheco, if there are any members in the room here who would like to be parties, and what that means, you will all have the opportunity to comment at the end. But if you would like to be a party, and that means that you may be called if there are if the matters are appealed, or you might have to participate in the future. But if you would like to do so, you may also have the opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Pacheco. Would anyone wish to be a party? This gentleman, and have you filled out a card? No, I haven't. All right, we need you to fill out a card. Has the gentleman in the back filled out a card?
Yes.
Would you come forward then while he fills out a card?
Yep. I don't have any problems with taking questions now, but we didn't go through the standing of the other people to be party status. You might have some questions on that.
If you want to address that, I think
Or
that would be
they can ask questions now, I guess. I'm okay with that, but we would like, before we give them party status, they're going to have to give some information about who they are, where they live, et cetera.
Yes, we'll have them do that before they ask questions.
Okay.
Yeah, whoever's ready.
What's his name?
We'll have him put it on the record. Folks.
Mr. Folks, would you come forward, please?
You're going to stand. Just talk.
Okay. I would give him one.
What we're going to do is ask you to identify yourself and where you live, and what else would you like, Mr. Sir?
Distance to the property subject to the application, and really want to know what his interest is in the application, how he would be briefed by the application, like is a substantial direct immediate, those type of things. So basically, what his interest is in the application.
So, Mr. Folks, if you would give your name and address, please.
My name is Jayon Folks. My address is 2500 Locust Lane.
And how far? About how far away are you from this site?
I'm less than a mile. My brother lives his property line is on the other side of the 40-plus acres. So my children are at his house daily. So I have a very serious interest in it.
Okay, and we're going to look what's shown on the wall, which is actually. It's marked as Exhibit 10. Is your property shown on here?
My property is over here. Yes.
So you're close to Edgemont Park?
Close to Edgemont Park.
You know about
I can, yes, it's less than a mile. I can walk, my children can walk.
Okay, and then you just mentioned your children, just kind of curious, you might want to just say what your interest is then for your children.
Well, I think we've, I just wanted to speak on
We'll just finish this first.
well, this is my interest.
Okay.
My interest in the application is my interest in your character, and I don't mean this in any degrading way, so I apologize if it sounds that way. I think we as a community have done a phenomenal job speaking the facts, the true facts of why this shouldn't happen. And I just want to address that it appears that character doesn't mean anything anymore. You gentlemen have been in here multiple times. This is my interest, sir. Please, can I speak on my interest of this?
No,
This is my interest of the application, isn't it?
At this point, we want to determine your proximity to the property, and there will be a time for public comment.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry.
Everybody will ever have an opportunity. This is basically, if you would have specific questions that you want to ask the witness, this would be the time to do it, and that's what we're trying to establish right now. If you don't have questions that you would like to ask this witness, there will be a time for public participation at the end, and that would be the appropriate time. But at this point, we need to establish at a base if you have standing to ask the witness questions.
Okay, no, I don't.
Well, I would say, you're up near Edgemont Park.
Yes, and I'm here frequently. My brother lives here, and I'm at his house daily.
Okay. The standing is based upon where you live.
Okay,
I understand what you're saying
that's
here.
fine. That's fine.
So I would object this to the standing as being in the immediate vicinity of the property. You're certainly free to ask comments as we go forward.
What's determined the immediate facility of the property?
Could the witness just point? I think for the board's sake, could the witness point where his brother's property is?
His property.
Your property.
My property, I can't reach it. I'm not.
Okay.
It's near Edgemont Park.
Okay.
My brother's property is right here.
Okay.
Sir, we agree that you do not have standing, but please, if you wouldn't mind staying, we'll hear everybody speak on whatever you would like to say
Thank you.
later. Thank you, sir. Mr. Harmon. Would you state your name and address, please?
My name is Willie Harmon, Harmon, and I reside at 2010 Wayne Avenue, directly adjacent to the property.
Good. I have no objections to this standing.
Okay, sir.
Ask questions of, yeah. Here. You're going to have to show me.
I have a big mouth, so anybody in the back can't hear me? I didn't think so. You said you were dumping leaves when you worked for your school district, Mr. And I'm sorry, your name's so familiar, but now it's slipping.
Pacheco.
Right. I worked for the Harrisburg School District approximately 1992 for certain. I'm intimately familiar with it from being on there. I've been a resident at that address since I was 10 years old. My parents have owned property since I was probably 7. I've been all through those woods. The area that you're referring to that's on the other side of the fence from where the things that you're talking about is a gully, is it not?
There is a gully behind it.
You stated in your testimony that you were dumping on the other side of the fence. Is that correct?
Correct.
Into the gully?
No, sir.
From walking behind that fence as a child, I always found it difficult not to slip down the hill. There is no room for a vehicle back there. I can produce photographs and images tonight that would prove that.
Questions?
I'm curious to know how you got your vehicle back there.
The road that I drove on is right on this pictures that I'm looking at.
Can we bring up, maybe he can point those out. I was looking over his shoulder. I think it was,
Let's look at number 6.
it's fine, all of them the same thing. And by the way, to answer the question, I have an aerial view, kind of view of it. I have had an aerial view of the property, not from an airplane, but from the top of a tree on the property.
So this is Exhibit 6.
Okay. The area that you referred to behind this toolbar, but this is where the,
There is the barn.
we call it the barn. You were along this fence here? Or were you along the fence that was put in after the deconstruction of the building?
May we ask you to show us on our map where you're referencing?
Okay, I am talking about this fence here, and there is now after the destruction of the school fence.
Thank you. Yeah.
And where is the gully you're talking about?
The gully is in the triangular area. That's all of this here.
That's
And
gully.
this is the gully. When they put the treatment facility in, they backfilled it up to here, but it's now just.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're saying that that's where you dumped, you dumped, the leaves and, other materials prior to 2006 when you were employed by the school district?
The material that we dumped was grass clippings and leaves, as you can see there, where they're at.
You have the 2000 and the most recent one. Current.
This is all.
Okay. You don't have,
This is all the answer.
I don't have this packet, so I'm trying to find the most current photo in there that we have of the property. Because I'm the one who goes over there and cuts the grass all through the field, in case you guys are wondering. That's how, when I say I live adjacent to
Right, well,
it,
let's-
I care about that.
We're asking questions.
And what I'm trying to do is I know that there were piles of rubbish that was put out there that are practically gone inside of 2 years.
Sir, I'm going to ask you
And
to,
in asking my question, I'm asking how he can identify that as the windrows.
Yeah, and if you can limit it to questions, and then you'll have the opportunity to.
That's just what I'm trying to do.
Yep.
I
We
know where
understand.
she was going. I'm trying to get to that question to ask how he knows that was the windrows.
so just ask that question.
That's the question that I'd like to know is, how do you know those are the rows of grass clippings and leaves that were left out there?
So those are not the ones, I can't tell if those are the ones I put there, but then the row of clippings, grass clippings and leaves are right here. And what you're referring to is beyond it. Yes, I agree with you. I have looked back there as I worked there, but that's back here, not here, sir.
No, but you say, there's like a wooded area, there's like there's trees or
Yes.
something?
Yes,
Did you dump leaves in the tree area, where the trees were?
No. The leaves are dumped right here,
Where you say right here that you testified behind,
behind the trailer
okay,
where we used to take our lunch at.
and that's on exhibit number 6, right?
Yes, sir.
Anything else, Mr. Harmon?
No further questions.
Thank you.
You can't establish how he knows what to do.
Is there anyone else who wishes to be a party? One more young woman here. And did you fill out a card, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
What do I have to say, who I am?
Yeah, why don't you say your name first?
My name is Marilyn Pham.
And what is your address?
I'm a former educator with the Harrisburg School District. I worked at that building site for 10 years. I worked in the school district for over 30 years. First of all, I want to answer the question.
No, sorry, not.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, ma'am.
I got a question.
No, ma'am, we need your address first.
1708 Glenside Drive.
And let me ask you that,
I
just,
was there, I know.
is that shown on the map here? Oh, look, I'm showing you a copy of what's on the screen here.
Exhibit 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm referring to all of them.
Oh, let's look at Exhibit 10 here. That's the map that's on the screen here.
Well, I didn't know, you talked about 5, 6, 7, 8, this first I heard about 10.
I know.
Give me 10.
10's right here in front of you, ma'am.
Well, nothing's there. It's a stamp.
Yes, that's exhibit number 10. We haven't gotten it to yet, but
Okay.
that's the exhibit that's on the wall there.
Okay.
Now, is your property shown on this map?
Let me see.
What's your,
There's no streets here. I don't see any streets. I can't tell because there's no streets there.
what's your street address again?
1708 Glenside Drive. Let's see, Stanley over here. Earth Street, that's going out. There's no streets here. How do I know? That's vague. I can't make that out. That's too vague. That's not clear.
Ma'am, you know where the subject property is that we're addressing
Yes, that's what I
tonight?
said, but I
So
can't-
show us where you live
There's no streets here.
Well, here's-
I know where the property is, but there's no
approximately.
here.
Here's Edgemont
Close
Park.
there, walk there from.
You're close to Edgemont Park. Okay, are you kind of below it, or which side of Edgemont Park are you?
Well, the way this is, it's hard to tell east, west, north, south, because there's no markings. Is it north? Is it south? Is it east? Like I said, it's too vague.
You see where the former school site is?
Yes,
And you see where Edgemont Park is?
yes.
Do you live between those two
There's no north,
areas?
south, east, west. I don't know. This,
You don't know where you live.
I told you where I live. Don't go there like
I'm
that.
not looking at the
You
map.
already been rude enough. Don't be rude like that. I haven't been rude to you. You said some ignorant things earlier, but I'll
Okay,
say that
let's
again.
just go.
I'm sorry, ma'am, you have to at least give us an approximation.
I told you, Edgemont Park, we'll use that.
You said where?
Edgemont Park, we'll use that.
How close do you live to Edgemont Park?
Close.
Ma'am, it's necessary for you to
Close.
be a party. If you
How
can't
close? I live
determine,
within walking distance. I don't know what else you want me to say. Block and a half, a half block. Half block, block and a half.
Do you know which way?
There's no streets, I can't tell you.
This is identified as
You can't even see it.
Cherry Street.
That's somewhere in Pembroke.
That's correct.
ma'am, is there someone here who could assist you with where you live?
Just wait.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, this is a legal necessity. We need to know exactly where you
A
live.
half block.
No, ma'am. Just a minute. May I have order, please? Ma'am. Is there someone here who can assist you with the map with your house? Now, we heard someone said it was a block and a half. Can they show you? If you cannot establish,
He's showing something that's more readable. Hold on. Okay, that's readable. Okay.
Highland, Oxford, Brown.
Yeah, that's readable.
All right, you're on Clinton. The flat side is the streets.
What do you mean between?
Well,
Brown Street, Oxford,
That
Highland.
way, they're way over there.
Yeah, but you live on Glenn's side, between which,
it's George, Locust,
What's your address?
Catherine is Brown. So that would be, all right, so they come out there, well, that's really far. Catherine would be,
It's not marked, I don't know how you tell that.
yeah, so there's Edgemont Park coming in here. Brown. I think you're off the map. Glenside is this right here.
That's the Stanley Road.
That's at the eastern boundary of this.
All right, so you're about 3/4 mile.
We are
Glenside.
currently off the record,
Yeah.
but we have a GPS location here, if that's helpful.
I think we're trying to, you see you're on, what's your address? What's your address? 1740 Glenside. I think this is Glenside right here. This is Glenside here, because it goes to the edge of the park, which is right to there. So that would be Glenside, this street here.
Guesstimate, okay? I'll
Yeah,
guesstimate
all right, so we're about 3/4 mile away. Okay, maybe go back on.
Back on the record, please.
I think we've identified where she is based on another drawing we have here, and it's about 3/4 of a mile away from the site on Glenside Road. Does that look about right? If you're here, see this is a mile, half mile, 3/4 mile. So you're in here. You're about 3/4 mile away. So would that be about right?
Yes.
Okay. I would object to standing based on the distance then, being about 3/4 mile away.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, but we will deny your standing. You'll have a full opportunity to speak at the end of the hearing on whatever you wish.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to be a party? All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Would we like to take a quick recess, just a 5-minute break?
Sure.
5 minutes? We'll be back by 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking, back on the record. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about is adjourning for this evening and returning again at another date in June. And Mr. Diamond, were you able to confirm that date?
Yes.
So at this time, the zoning hearing board will recess. Will recess until June 11th at 6 p.m. And please note that we are starting even half an hour earlier in the interest of completing this. And I thank you all for your patience and your returning to the hearings. And the hearing will be here once again. Thank you. We're adjourned.
Thank you.